we don't need roads.
Ramsay, good to see you again, sir. How are you?
All good indeed. Thank you, big man. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So good to see you. I got to tell you, I spent the holidays with my family binging this show, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful show. And so thank you for doing it. I got 6 questions I'm going to try to burn through. The sort of adventures, the sort of journeys, the sort of experiences that you have on Uncharted, these are the kinds that can sort of change who you are as a person. So I'm sort of curious, in what way has this show not just changed the way you look at food, but just changed the way you've looked at your own life?
Yeah, that's a good question. Uncharted is very humbling because it strips you of all the foo-foo and gives you that level of determination to start understanding, proper cultures. And I'm not saying we give that a wide berth in a way that we don't appreciate it when you're cooking an Asian influenced dish, but when you actually are in Asia or you're making the most amazing rendang in Indonesia, you start to understand the DNA. Very few chefs get the opportunity to go to the birthplace. And I think Uncharted uncovers that beautifully. So I'm excited because it's like being back at school with this plethora of ingredients that I've never even seen before. And then when you're on that hunt and you're scavenging for those ingredients, you respect them so much more because it's not the kind of stuff you're going to find in Ralph's wrapped up in plastic wrap. You're not going to go online and get it from Amazon. There's no such thing when you're in Amazon jungle maybe, but not Amazon Prime. So it's off-piste, it's Uncharted, and it's freaking raw.
It really is. It's such a pleasure watching you in the show. And I'm sort of curious about what you have brought back from your experiences on Uncharted, maybe to the sets of MasterChef and Hell's Kitchen. Are there any culinary lessons that have crossed borders from one show to another?
Many. Mexico, and understanding mole, and being in Oaxaca, and looking at the birthplace of mole and understanding the elbow grease, the graft. There's no fast track behind that. And I promise you now, when I stand next to Aaron Sanchez, my fellow judge on MasterChef, I'm going to kick his ass and not only show him how to make a perfect mole, I'm going to teach the guy how to do an amazing taco from Texas and show him properly what he hasn't been shown our contestants. That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. One of the most famous Gordon Ramsay traditions, obviously, if you get frustrated, you tend to yell at them. But I was wondering, early in your culinary career, do you ever remember anyone yelling at you to drive home a point? Was there ever anyone who helped you out by using the tough love that you now use?
Yeah, very much. I'd say 90% of my mentors. And also in that heat of the moment, don't forget, they're under pressure themselves. So they're not sat there having afternoon tea and a scone and jam. They're in the thick of it. And so you've got to get that message across quickly and you've got to get that level of directness. That's all I ever wanted. Yes, I made mistakes, but I never made that same mistake twice because that's when they're going to lose it. So half of that energy is the pressure and timing, getting things done in a timely manner. And when you're behind the line with 25 other cooks, that level of coordination within 4 minutes is paramount. Mm-hmm. And if you're on time, you're late. If you're 10 seconds over, you're screwed.
After a really tough year for the restaurant industry, it finally looks like we're sort of reaching a light at the end of the tunnel. We've been doing a lot of segments here in Chicago to kind of help out local restaurants. I'm sort of curious, what would you like to say to the chefs and the servers and the restaurant owners who have been scraping and fighting to survive over this last year and have sort of made it through onto the other side?
Yeah, I'd like to say, not only does my heart go out to every restaurateur, but we've never experienced any of this sort of deadlock over the last 40 months, in decades of this industry. We've been hit the hardest. But I have to think of the frontline workers that have been saving lives. We cook food. So what's going to happen now when we reopen these businesses? There's going to be these surge of excitements back in this sort of industry that will reestablish the importance of breaking bread. Mm-hmm. But what I've been blown away by is from the customers that have been supporting these restaurants with vouchers, online donations, and that stuff is untold. So, as you know, sadly, there are a percentage of restaurants that haven't reopened, but fingers crossed, we are on that trajectory.
Well, I wanted to ask really quickly, one of the things I most love that you put out online, you do these really great videos with people where you kind of give play-by-play commentary as they attempt not just to cook something, but usually cook it in a very strange way. I love these videos. They're really fun. I'm just sort of curious where they came from because they're brilliant.
Yeah, I think that kind of, proactive time in lockdown and having been stripped of your DNA and not firing up a stove. And I need to stay creative. So I need to stay nimble and on my toes. And Ramsay Roast or Ramsay Reacts was giving an insight to what they were doing incorrectly, and sort of almost like that football coach that wants it right. And if you don't want to play in the Premier League, then don't shoot so high.
Absolutely. And they're getting me right. Really quick, I always wanted to ask you this question. The best job I ever had in my entire life, I was a server when I started college, when I started TV, because I wasn't making any money. And I always tell people it was the best job I ever had in my entire life. It taught me kindness. It taught me patience. I'm sort of curious from your perspective. I always tell people at some point in your life, you should be a server. You should always wait tables at some point in your life. Is that something you would agree with?
Yeah, I was a waiter once, clumsy as anything. But what I did understand was, the sort of pressure going on in the kitchen, but how important it is to glide around the dining room like a swan and make sure that without customers, we're screwed.
Absolutely. Mr. Ramsay, it is always a pleasure to chat with you. You always tell people you're one of the kindest people I've ever met in my entire life. And I really hope the next time we chat is in person, man.
In Chicago. Here we come.
In Chicago. Seriously. The fold-out couch, man. I'll get it ready for you.
Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye, guys.
Best wishes. Thank you.
See you later.
Well, we're going, we don't need roads.